activity. Overexploitation. Overexploitation of species causes the loss of genetic diversity and loss in the species abundance of both individual and groups of interacting species. Overexploitation may include overfishing and overharvesting. Unrestricted whaling during the 20th century is an example of overexploitation, and the whaling industry brought many species of whales to extremely low population sizes. Humans have fished the oceans, which never seemed to pose a problem due to their abundant resources. Increasing human populations have placed increasing demands on the sea as a source of food. Alien species invasions. The species which have been introduced to a place where they have not lived before are called invasion species. Invasion species disturb the balance of the nature. The native species, unable to compete with the outsiders after living undisturbed for a long time, are frequently driven out or get killed. Several fish species, such as bluegill sunfish and smallmouth bass, have been widely introduced throughout western Northern America, where they cause serious threats to amphibian populations. Co-extinctions. Co-extinction of a species is the loss of a species as a consequence of the extinction of the other. For example, when a host of fish becomes extinct, then all the microorganisms live on that fish also becomes extinct. Co-extinctions. Co-extinction of a species is the loss of a species as a consequence of the extinction of the other. For example, when a host of fish becomes extinct, then all the microorganisms live on that fish also becomes extinct. Co-extinctions. Co-extinction of a species is the loss of a species as a consequence of the extinction of the other. For example, when a host of fish becomes extinct, then all the microorganisms live on that fish also becomes extinct. Co-extinctions. Co-extinction of a species is the loss of a species. Biodiversity conservation. Why should we conserve biodiversity? Biodiversity plays an important role for maintaining the ecological functions, including stabilization of water cycle, maintenance of soil fertility, pollination and cross-fertilization of crops and other vegetation, protects against soil erosion, and stability of food producing and other ecosystems. Conservation of biological diversity leads to conservation of important ecological diversity to preserve the existence of food chains. It provides the base for the livelihoods, culture, and economies of several hundred millions of people. It also provides the genetic base for the continuous upgradation of agriculture and for critical discoveries in scientific and industrial sectors. How do we conserve biodiversity? India is a center of rich biological diversity and has contributed significantly of the global biodiversity. India is a homeland of 167 cultivated species and 320 wild relatives of crop plants. Different biodiversity management systems involving both in situ and ex situ conservation programs. In situ conservation, the protection of animals and plants in their natural habitat is known as in situ conservation. The established natural habitat are national parks and sanctuaries, biosphere reserves, nature reserves, reserved and protected forests, preservation plots, and reserved forests. The first initiative was the establishment of the Corbett National Park in 1936. These are highly protected by law. No human activity such as firewood collection and grazing is allowed in the park. Sanctuaries are also protected, but some human activities are permitted. In situ conservation. Biosphere reserves are another category of protected areas. A large area is declared as a biosphere reserve where wildlife is protected, but local communities are permitted to continue to live and pursue traditional activities within the reserve. Indian government has set up 7 biosphere reserves: Nokrek, Nilgiri, Namdapha, Nanda Devi, Sundarbans, Great Nicobar, and Gulf of Mannar. Biodiversity hotspot. A biodiversity hotspot is a region of the earth which is extremely biologically diverse and also under severe threat due to habitat loss, climate change, or extensive species loss. There are 34 hotspots in the world. India has 3 biodiversity hotspots. They are Western Ghats, Himalayas, and Indo-Burma region. Ex situ conservation. Ex situ conservation of plants and animals involves protect them away from their natural habitat. For example, zoological parks, botanical gardens. All the genetic material of crops, animal, bird and fish species is collected and preserved by the National Bureau of Plant Genetic Resources, New Delhi, and National Bureau of Animal Genetic Resources, etc. When we reintroduce this species into the habitat from where it has become extinct is another form of ex situ conservation. For example, Gangetic gharial has been reintroduced in the rivers of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Rajasthan where it had become extinct. Did you know? Our Prime Minister Mr. Manmohan Singh launched the Hyderabad Pledge and announced that his government had decided to earmark $50 million to strengthen the institutional mechanism for biodiversity conservation in India. Summary. Let us summarize what we have learned. Biodiversity is defined as the existence of a wide range of different types of organisms in a given place at a given time. Biodiversity increases when we move from high to low latitude. The species diversity decreases from lower to higher altitude on a mountain. Biodiversity is essential for the health of biosphere. It acts as the source of food, and it also has great aesthetic values. Human activities are the major threat to biodiversity. It includes habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasions, co-extinctions. The protection of animals and plants in their natural habitat is known as in situ conservation. Ex situ conservation of plants and animals involves protecting them away from their natural habitat.